Hello, my name's Simonaz, and welcome to another Simonaz Guide video. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that I've been asked about a whole lot in the last couple of weeks while we've been doing the Icecrown Citadel PTR. People keep asking me, man, Simon, is it combat's time to rise up? Are Assassination rogues dead? Which spec is better in Icecrown Citadel? We're going to answer that for you today. This is a highly scientific chart that I made in MS Paint to try to illustrate how the DPS difference between Assassination and Combat is as you move from Phase 3 Best in Slot gear to Phase 4 Best in Slot gear. And what you notice is that Assassination is probably going to be ahead, like the whole time, right up until you get nearly perfect Phase 4 Best in Slot gear, and then Combat is estimated to be a little bit ahead at that point. This chart shows some fairly arbitrary gear levels that I used to try to illustrate the gearing process from Phase 3 Best in Slot up to Phase 4 and Phase 5 Best in Slot gear, and I ran those through the simulator to get estimated damage output numbers. And you can see throughout the whole gearing process, the two specs are pretty close, but you've got to be, roughly 4 items away from perfect BIS for Combat to be roughly equal to Assassination, and only past that point does Combat pull ahead. Anywhere prior to that point, Assassination will be a varying amount, a little bit ahead of the Combat. I would like to highlight that I think the gear that Combat needs is generally much more contested than the gear that Assassination needs. Combat really wants those armor penetration items, and so do your Fury Warriors, and your Feral Druids, and your Frost Death Knights. There's a lot of shared items that other people are competing for that are really high impact for Combat, so they're going to be harder to get. Whereas those same armor penetration items, Assassination, well, they might be technically best in slot for Assassination, but they're not that big a deal. You can take a 10-man alternative, and it's a pretty small downgrade. Here's a list of what I'd call realistic gear for Assassination. This is taking a full perfect Phase 4 Best in Slot list, and then taking 4 items of 25-man loot and replacing them with 10-man loot, and picking the least impactful 4 swaps to make that happen, and also taking away 25-man heroic Lich King weapons. Here's the same thing done for a Combat Best in Slot list, and most notably, this still has a Deathbringer's Will on it. You can't really go without that trinket on Combat. Still has Tosk's maximized wrist guards, still has Aldriana's Gloves of Secrecy. These are fairly contested items. I think that acquiring this Combat set is going to be a lot more difficult than acquiring the similar power level Assassination gear set. Now, aside from gearing, let's talk more just about the performance of the specs. And one aspect of that we haven't talked about yet is their AoE damage capability. Generally speaking, on 3 to 8 enemies, Combat's going to be a little bit stronger, offer more AoE damage with their Fan of Knives. And it's not going to be until you're at maybe 12 or more enemies that Assassination is generally going to pull ahead. Because what the Assassination rogue is going to do is they're going to equip their Titansteel Spellblade crafted caster dagger and their level 58 Felstriker from Upper Blackrock Spire and absolutely destroy everyone. Yes, these items are still relevant in Icecrown Citadel. You just need the specific situation that makes them good, which is basically a large number of enemies and being Assassination spec to have focused attacks talent. So let's do a quick breakdown to summarize the differences of Combat and Assassination in Icecrown Citadel. For Combat, every raid's going to want 1 Combat for the plus 4% physical damage debuff. The only other class that brings this is Arms Warrior, and Arms Warriors completely suck, so that's not really an option. Combat is estimated to have higher single target DPS in pretty much perfect Best in Slot gear. You can offer better AoE damage in small AoE pulls. However, you do need more highly contested gear to make Combat pop off. For Assassination, you have a very simple rotation as an Assassination rogue, and this is good. Because while the Combat rotation may not be hard, depending on who you ask, it's certainly harder than an Assassination rotation. This means Assassination rogue players are more likely to approach their simulated DPS numbers and actually experience those or close to them in raids than a Combat player, especially when you're juggling a lot of complicated raid mechanics. Assassination is going to have higher single target DPS prior to reaching perfect BIS gear. You're going to offer better AoE in large pulls, and you need less highly contested gear. So usually a raid with only one rogue, I would recommend that rogue be combat, again, for the very important 4% physical damage debuff. If a raid has more than one rogue, I would recommend that at least one of the rogues play Assassination. And this is mostly so that you just can utilize the dagger drops that happen in your raid and give them to someone that those are valuable upgrades for, and you have fewer people competing on your Deathbringer's Will and your Havoc's Calls and your Blood Venom Blades and all your juicy armor penetration items. Assassination is definitely not dead. They are both good specs, pretty much as they have been throughout the expansion. You can play whichever specialization you prefer. They're both perfectly viable in Icecrown Citadel. Thanks for watching this video. I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope you can show this to your raid leaders who are forcing you to respec combat, telling you that Assassination is dead. It is definitely not. And remember to check out Simonize Show TV here on YouTube. That's my VODs, clips, and highlights channel. The link to that will be in the video description as well as in the pinned comment below. So have a good day and have fun in Icecrown Citadel.